Inclusion and exclusion criteria. Inclusion criteria are characteristics that a study must have if they are to be included in the study, while exclusion criteria are those characteristics that disqualify prospective study from inclusion in the study. Inclusion and exclusion criteria set the boundaries for the systematic review. They are determined after setting the research question, usually before the search is conducted. However, scoping searches may need to be undertaken to determine appropriate criteria. Many different factors can be used as exclusion or inclusion criteria. In a high-quality systematic review, inclusion and exclusion criteria needs to be stated in detail and be as transparent as possible. Criteria can relate to, for example, the time span of publications, the type of study design to be reviewed, or the relevance to the research question. It is essential to describe the inclusion criteria at the start of the review, and to record any changes subsequently made. Criteria need to be given in the final report or journal article. The studies can be included or excluded based on the following criteria. Date. Date is an important inclusion criteria. Researcher needs to decide the timeline for the search stream. The date bound the search and set limits for data. If you're interested in the last 10 years' data, then one should need to adjust the dates accordingly. It means the researcher is only interested in the last 10 years of data and excludes the rest. Geographic. It may be necessary to limit the review to only studies targeting the same population group of the interest for a broader original study, or to countries which share similar demographics or economic factors with the target group. Exposure of interest. The participants in the study may need to have experienced a particular condition to be considered for inclusion. That is, receive teaching certification or IELTS language course for particular intervention. Language. It is usually not necessary to arrange translation of scientific words unless the review is attempting to come to a definite conclusion about a very specific clinical outcome which requires every applicable paper to be included. Participants. Reviews may be restricted to only adult or children's studies, or be a certain age group. Peer review. Sometimes reviews will exclude non-peer-reviewed literature, but grey literature, such as technical reports and web-based guidelines. They may be important for certain research questions. Setting. The study may be excluded or included based on where the participants were located, that is, school, hospitals, community-based care, university or service sectors. Study design. The inclusion of only selected study designs is a way to make the review much more manageable and applicable to the research question. Study design can include those studies in which participants were surveyed one at a time, that is, cross-sectional studies and ecological studies, and study designs that were conducted over time, that is, longitudinal studies. Initial search is mostly done using Boolean operators and other search techniques. Initial search is followed by a screening process, and in screening, only eligible studies are forwarded for inclusion for systematic review. In the example, initially after comprehensive literature search, about 897 studies were extracted. However, after screening followed by inclusion and exclusion criteria, the researcher was left with only 83 studies. In the resource section, I added material on summarizing and synthesizing the studies, which include information regarding presenting the results of the studies, synthesis of study results, and heterogeneity, and effect modifications. In the next section, I will discuss in detail about the choice of the effect size measure in meta-analysis.